Welcome back into the Blurred Wire. Today we are talking about the Marvels. I published my review of Loki season 2 around the same time. And then I went to go see Marvels on Saturday night. And honestly, I loved it. I thought it was great. I honestly thought it was one of the best Marvel movies we've gotten in a little bit. Um, I don't have it like in my top 10 Marvel projects, but it's probably definitely top 15 for me. I liked it that much. Um, I think it was like Miss Marvel. I really liked like Kamala and her family and following them and stuff because it made you really feel for her, being a little teenager and everything. I thought the lore surrounding it was a little hard to follow sometimes, but I feel like the Marvels, it really pulled everything together. My only complaint is that it moved a little fast and that we could have gotten more time and the movie could have been longer. Um, but that's never a complaint when your movie could have been longer. I don't even think this one was 2 hours. And still, the way they moved through everything, I didn't leave feeling confused or not knowing exactly what happened. And in fact, they cleared up a lot of different plot holes that other Marvel movies haven't been able to clear up. For example, Carol Danvers. We finally got the explanation onto what happened with the Kree and why she, was gone for 30 plus years. Because I get what she was saying. I'm gonna find the scrolls of home, and as to why she wasn't able to find the scrolls of home for 30 plus years, because she was saying, "I'm gonna find the scrolls of home. Nick Fury only uses in emergencies." But we knew the first thing that she wanted to do was go and destroy the Kree, go and destroy the Supreme Intelligence. Excuse me. And so she went and did that. But when she destroyed them, she didn't realize how much of the AI is responsible for everything that they do. And their society collapsed, their sun started burning out. And so to me, it makes perfect sense as to why she kind of abandoned her mission to help the Skrulls find a new home, because she realized she just destroyed Hala, essentially. By destroying one AI, she destroyed the lives of all these people. And that is the kind of story we were looking for with Carol Danvers. That's why nobody really liked her before Brie Larson's portrayal as her, because it came across as really arrogant. It came across as like, I know how to do everything, everything is right, everything is easy, and I'm super powerful. And people just don't relate to that because nobody is like that. Nobody gets it right every single time, and nobody is that like, confident and sure of themselves. And so it made Captain Marvel just kind of seem, they were going for confidence and they're going for strength, and they came away with arrogance. In this movie, they did a really excellent job humbling her. I think Brie Larson did a great job playing into that role. I know Brie Larson said a couple of times she didn't want to continue playing Captain Marvel because of the backlash. I hope that she knows her performance in the Marvels was much better, and I hopefully that she'll continue to play Captain Marvel like this, because it really was nice to see the character growth and see her making a decision based upon her arrogance and the results, the negative results that it brought. It was the perfect way to kind of pull it back in and fix the image that Carol Danvers had created. Because again, it's not like she was a bad person, obviously. It's just nobody likes somebody like that. Think about the most confident, arrogant person you know. Even if they are good at what they do, nobody likes them. People just don't. They want to see people that make mistakes, that don't always get it right, that they can relate with. And so I thought Kamala Khan really made this movie. I think having Monica Rambeau in there was nice too. It helps kind of it really balanced out the trio, because Monica Rambeau was very serious pretty much the whole time. Carol was afraid to admit her own mistakes, and Kamala was just there for the ride. And I love how they started off with action. Like it started with they touched the jump points, and next thing you know, they're fighting all these Kree, and we're only like 10 or 15 minutes into the movie. So I thought that was a great way to start it. It really felt like it was, it's not like, as great of a crossover as like Civil War was, but in the same way, Civil War, it got you right into the action and continued the story. And by the time the end of it, it felt like a key cog in the story. Like the events that happened in this story matter. They affect the entire multiverse. They're going to affect Kang Dynasty. They're going to affect Secret Wars. This was a cog moving forward. I really loved that. I thought it connected everything. It felt like Marvel really was moving forward, but not in an annoying way where stories can't breathe by themselves. It just, I don't know, it kind of felt like, when roads intersect, and these roads intersected, and then they kept going, and it left me wanting more. And I want to go see it again. I probably am going to go see it again. And I wasn't sure how their powers were going to be entangled, but it actually made perfect sense that it happened because they touched the jump point at the same time that she activated the other bangle that Kamala didn't have. And that makes sense because they touched the jump point. The bangle was affecting a jump point, and Kamala Khan has a bangle. So like I said, I wasn't sure how they're going to explain that because none of their powers origin came from anything remotely the same source. So, it's kind of coincidental that they happen to have light powers, but at least the jump point was a very solid explanation as to why their powers are entangled. Because I tried to come up with a reason for why, and I literally could not think of one. I thought that maybe Carol would have found the bangle, and then Monica, if she had something that was related to the bangle, maybe I had no idea how they were going to do it. And the way they did it was good. I don't think the villain was I think honestly, the only thing I would say about Zawe Ashton, which is really interesting because she's Loki's, in real life, Tom Hiddleston is Zawe Ashton's husband. And so it makes me think that maybe he was like, hey, you want to try this MCU thing? And she was like, sure. Because she's already an incredible actress and really talented and accomplished. I think she suffered from Ronan's problem. And I think she was trying to be too evil, if that makes sense. Because her motivations in and of themselves were not wrong. She was how Namor in when you have a villain that's willing to do anything for his people, like Namor was in Wakanda Forever, you can get a very compelling villain. I think this villain was willing to take resources from other planets because destroying the Supreme Intelligence robbed her planet of their resources. So she was willing to do anything. And that's compelling. And I think that Zawe Ashton, or however they wrote it, they tried to add an extra layer of evilness to it by giving her the crazy eyes and speaking things you will not protect yourself and all this stuff. And it's she really didn't have to do all of that. She really could have just played it as I need to save my people, and just been unwilling to listen to any other alternatives because she needs to save her people, and she's going to take these resources from Carol because Carol took them from her. And the way that she kind of portrayed her was kind of as a high and mighty Kree and very evil. And I think the villain would have benefited from playing her a little bit more almost desperate or more, I don't know, just more. She didn't have to be so evil because what she wanted to do, she had a good reason to do it. But what she wanted to do was still wrong because, again, it's not Earth's fault that Carol destroyed the Supreme Intelligence. And, so that part didn't really make... I think that's probably the thing that's going to hold it back a little bit more is the villain. When movies don't have a great villain, it doesn't ruin it that much for me. I still enjoyed the action sequences, and I at least understood her motivation and what she was trying to do. Was it the best plan? No, because you don't know if that atmosphere will work on your planet, gravity and all those, actual science. However, when she was on the Skrull colony, it's not like she couldn't breathe the air. So when she went there, she could breathe the air, probably assumed it was safe for Hala. So, but anyway, like I said, I love how the entire movie is essentially Carol's fault. I think, and like I said, it's hard to say that, but it is because none of this would have happened if she didn't destroy the Supreme Intelligence. Now, the Supreme Intelligence was evil, but again, it's there's consequences for your actions sometimes when you do things a certain way and you don't think about it. And, now Carol has this big problem she has to face, and it's affecting other people, and it affected the lives of those Skrulls. It affected a lot of different people. And so I love that she decided that was the story that they went with. I think it really made the Marvels powerful. And I think seeing Kamala helped Carol, because Kamala also got to see the flaws of Carol. She got to see that, oh wow, she wanted to do this great thing and ended up kind of destroying everything. And then Kamala almost died because of it, you know? So I don't think, like, even when, based upon the campiness of the movie, like, there are some movies, they're so intense, that, like, you're actually scared. In this movie, based upon the campiness, when, the villain, Zawe Ashton's character, Darben, when she had her Cosme Rod on Kamala's face, I wasn't scared. I knew she wasn't gonna die. It wasn't like a moment of terror. And it wasn't I don't think it was that deeply emotional of a movie. Like Civil War had parts that almost made me cry. Like, like when Black Panther was like, I'm done letting it consume me. And it was a very powerful movie. There were powerful parts in some Marvel movies. This one was not. This one was a fun movie. It was along for the ride, and it pushed the narrative forward. And I think it was exactly what Marvel needed, because it was connected. It's too bad that like it didn't get all of the marketing, and people are gonna blame it bombing on superhero fatigue and that Marvel's not doing well. No, the reason why it bombed is because the actor strikes are going on, so actors can't go out and promote their movies and stuff. Brie Larson should have hosted SNL, Amani Villani should have hosted SNL, or Teyana Parrish. Like, those are the kind of things people do to get their movies out there, and they can't do that right now with the strike. So I think the strike is definitely the reason for it, and not necessarily the quality of the movie or the quality of Marvel in general. I think anyone that goes to it will have a good time, and it's kind of similar to, because I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, right? And I didn't like it. And like that movie was also just trying to have fun and be a funny movie, and I usually like the Ant-Man movies. To me, the problem was the caliber of villain they chose was too high. They chose Kang to be the villain in that movie for a movie that was too campy for him to be the villain if he's supposed to be the big Avengers villain. So, like, when you put a villain into a movie that's largely a joke, you can't avoid it. You will turn that villain into a joke. It's just the way that it goes. If they're in a movie full of jokes, the villain's not going to be taken that seriously. And so, but in this one, she was a one-off villain. She died. Again, not that concerned about it, or she wasn't really a character that's like, oh man, she should have lived or continued. I don't think they had to write it to where she died. I think they could have had her, Carol could have restored the planet, and ended the conflict that way. This could have been one of those movies where the conflict is ended not by fighting, but by working something out. Now, Dar-Benn didn't want to listen. I think it's not really like a plot hole, but the one thing that they didn't really fully explain was, because I guess Carol didn't come up with the idea to reignite the Kree sun by herself. Monica kind of helped her by seeing her. I think the explanation should have been, hey, with this quantum band, Carol, if you put this on, you might be able to reignite their sun. And that should have been the reasoning. Carol can use her powers to reignite their sun because of the quantum band. Kind of figured that Miss Marvel's, the bands were going to become quantum bands. I thought they were going to do nega bands, because nega bands are the ones where you literally switch places and what they're going to call them. But I don't think they're going to do the nega bands in the MCU, my guess. Because they're calling these quantum bands, I'm guessing that they're just kind of combining the nega bands and the quantum bands into the quantum bands, so they have the same properties of the nega bands. So, for Marvel Comics fans, I think we would have enjoyed it more if they were the nega bands, but they weren't. They're the quantum bands. So, but yeah. So, ancient Kree artifacts, I think that made a whole lot of sense, and the fact that Dar-Benn found it. And like I said, her plan didn't make a lot of scientific sense, but it did make some sense. How do you get all these resources to a planet that's dying? Well, how else are you going to do it? You can't just carry some ships over and fill it with atmosphere and bring it to your planet. You know what I mean? You kind of need something strong enough to pull the atmosphere or pull the water out and into your own planet. I mean, it's like the jump point is kind of the only way to do it. Again, not a great scientific plan, but there's no other way she could have done it. And, from Dara Ben's perspective, she's not going to go ask Captain Marvel to fix the problem she caused because she's the Annihilator. So, like I said, I totally get why Carol would have abandoned her mission to find the Skrulls a new home. And I think if they, Secret Invasion really should have talked about that, because that would have made way more sense. Like Nick Fury, they could have said, Carol said she had to go take care of something and won't be able to help us find a new home. And she probably could have been going around trying to figure out how to fix Hala. And maybe a lot of the planets that she went to probably were like, let them die because they're the Kree and they've oppressed us for years. So I think that's a kind of a failure on Secret Invasion's part. If Secret Invasion was better, it could have made this a lot better because we could have learned, oh, Carol abandoned her post of trying to find them and we don't know why and we don't find out until the Marvels. And it probably would have been, I mean, Secret Invasion, when it came out, I think was fine. But, maybe when it came out was fine because they would have had to push the Marvels back a week and move Secret Invasion up. But like I said, if we weren't all trying to get it out of our brains, we probably would have liked it better, is all I gotta say. So, I do think the Marvel was market improvement for Marvel. I think it's the right direction to go forward. I think as we get more serious villains, we'll get more serious movies. I died laughing so hard because I knew that Kate Bishop was going to show up in this movie as a cameo. Unfortunately, I looked at the cast listing, or I was looking at Haley Steinfeld's movies, and I saw that she was in the Marvels, and I ruined that surprise for myself. However, I was still pleasantly surprised because it was Kamala recruiting Kate, which was so funny because I thought it was going to be Kate recruiting Kamala, but the way Kamala did it was just hilarious. And I want to go back and watch the entire movie just for that scene because it was that good. You think you're the only kid superhero around here? Amani Vellani's captured Kamala Khan in such a way that just makes you love her because she's so adorable. And that makes every scene that she's in is a win. Even when, she doesn't have the same powers as everybody else, everything that she's in is a win. And when the Kree were fighting and she threw a lamp at one of the Kree guys' heads, it was I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And I think, like I said, from a plot hole perspective and all of that, there really weren't many. And it clears up a lot of stuff that Secret Invasion didn't really address and Captain Marvel didn't really address with Endgame. And now, like I said, I think it does make sense that Carol would spend 30 years away from Earth trying to figure out how to fix Hala. That's perfectly reasonable. And to me, these quantum bands should have been the reason why, not than just believe in yourself. And she was technically wearing it when she went through the sun, so maybe that was why. Don't know, but we'll see. And then the fact that Monica got stuck in another dimension at the end because another reality was crashing in and she had to go in and try to piece it back together, that opens up a slew of questions. Because again, kind of a disappointing thing from Multiverse of Madness, which I guess maybe Disney wasn't ready for this, or I don't know. But, a lot of us were, when we saw, I never saw Multiverse of Madness, but when we saw Charles Xavier in the trailer, we thought maybe we're getting the Fox Xavier. And, this was a really cool way to introduce the Illuminati. And I thought oh, wow, there's a whole slew of storylines that could have gone on because at the end of X-Men's Days of Future Past, everything looks good. They fixed the timeline. And saved him from all those Sentinels. And so then when Scarlet Witch killed them all, it was kind of disappointing. So now Monica Rambeau is stuck in another universe where her mom exists as binary. And it's it's hard to know. Did she go to Earth 838? Because I know they want to bring it back. And did she just go there before Scarlet Witch killed everybody? Maybe. Will we see that scene again? Maybe in Deadpool where Scarlet Witch is going through and killing everybody? Because that would be cool, having her show up on Earth 838. Because it was a tear in space-time, so it could have been before Scarlet Witch killed the Illuminati. But then again, not everyone has seen Multiverse of Madness, so we'll see. Or it could have just been, or this could be the Fox universe that she landed in, where our Professor X and our Beast exist. Which would make a whole lot of sense, and I would totally get, and I would actually enjoy. So I don't know how exactly that's going to play into Deadpool 3, but I definitely know they're going to pick it up, and we're going to have a long time to theorize and think about it, which is pretty exciting. So, yeah, so leave me your comments on what you think on how good The Marvels was, if you liked it, if you want to see it. If you're contemplating it, I personally recommend go see it, go find a time. I know inflation's high and everything. I know a lot of movie theaters on Tuesdays, they do 5 nights, $5. They do, you can see a movie for $5, like at Epic back home in Florida. Right now I'm in Charlotte, so at AMC and Regal, they do that. So if you can, I would go see it. You can take the whole family. They will enjoy it. It was funny. It was fun. And I personally cannot wait to see it again. Until next time, Blurds.